You are now listening to the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Do you love horror movies? Then welcome to Frightmares, a proud member of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network. I'm your host, Ausin, and every week myself and a co-host will dive into the world of horror, from legendary classics to hidden deep cuts you might have missed. We kick things off with the latest horror watches, break down the IMDb stats, and take you through a full in-depth review of the movie. Expect behind-the-scenes fun facts, ridiculous audience reviews, and plenty of laughs along the way. New episodes drop every Wednesday at 6 a.m., so join us on our exploration of the genre one movie at a time, and always remember to stay spooky. This is Frightmares.
Warning! This movie podcast actually discusses movies. Be aware that it may discuss any of the following elements: endings, surprise twists, unexpected cameos, and all manner of spoilers. If this doesn't appeal to you, then why listen to a movie podcast? Without further ado, please enjoy our feature presentation, The Shameless Picture Show.
Hello and welcome to another episode of The Shameless Picture Show. I am your host, Michael Viers, and today I'm being joined by two phenomenal guests. First off, we have my beautiful and talented wife, Amanda, who is also our graphic designer. She is an accomplished person within the world of IT, and just all-around great person, a cool artist. You can find her work on Instagram. Amanda, how are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing very well. And then, as if that wasn't good enough, we do have a secondary guest. We have one of my oldest friends in the world of film and filmmaking. We've been friends since college. An accomplished documentary filmmaker, an accomplished wildlife photographer, and the board on how you describe it? You're on the board for the local parks?
Yeah, I'm on the board for the Humboldt Park Friends. And the chair of the Wildlife Committee.
So he is part of the Wildlife Committee, the only member of the Wildlife Committee. So he's a ruler of one. We have Kyle Arpke. How are you doing, Kyle?
It's good, and to be honest, it takes a lot to reel myself in. So, it's probably best that it's just me on that board.
Honestly, the biggest thing that I'm impressed by there's a lot of things I'm impressed by with you, but like the fact that you are freelance and you convince yourself to work every day. Like, yes, you need it's a money side, like you need money, but I feel like I take for granted the fact that I work at a job where they give me work. Yeah. Like I have to go in every day, but the work is given to me. So I was like, I guess I better do this. They put it in front of me.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, you're not always working as a freelancer, so to speak. But there's also like a lot of different layers of the type of work. When you're not getting paid to work, you're researching things, trying to become a better, more well-rounded video person for when you are working, or trying to follow leads, establish connections, all that kind of stuff kind of adds to that. Yeah, the work is the paid part of it, at least, is almost like the minimal portion. It's all the chasing around and stuff that you have to do that kind of makes freelance a full-time job in a way. But you're only getting paid for like a third of it.
No, that makes sense. But there have been days
Sounds terrible.
where you've been like, oh, I've just played Hitman all day.
Yeah, I mean, it happens, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But the reason I've assembled these two here with me today is not only just because I enjoy talking with them both tremendously, but we all have something in common, as we all were press for the 2026 Milwaukee Film Festival, which at this point, Amanda, this is our third year covering it.
Mhm.
I think it's technically my fourth year, because there was one year that I got a COVID press badge. So 4 for me. Yeah, there was.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
That was like the virtual festival.
yes, which was
Technically,
cool.
you watched everything at home, so I sort of
That's true.
was involved.
That's true, and that was cool. But it's like, oh man, this would be so much cooler if I was in a theater. And then I eventually got that opportunity, and 3 years strong. Kyle, is this your first time covering a film festival?
Yeah, it definitely is. Because I do freelance wildlife writing, as you said, and I'm trying to branch out or just write about things that interest me. And obviously, as a filmmaker, I'm like, well, writing about film interests me greatly. So I interviewed Susan Kearns, who's the director of the film festival, for MKE Lifestyle magazine. That was a really fun piece to do. It's kind of talking about her first year in charge of not only the film festival but Milwaukee Film as a whole, which operates 2 theaters year round. So I covered that, and then I wrote some reviews for Geek Vibes Nation, just to say that I did it and provide some press and provide some more, I guess, analysis on some films that were at the festival.
Do you feel like you're gonna try to cover it again in the future, or do you think this is just an experiment for the year?
It's a good question. I'm not sure that I know yet. I think that, I've been on the podcast before and I've talked about how I've been working on a documentary
Mm-hmm.
for the past bunch of years, and that will hopefully be released sometime this year, with the idea that it will hopefully show at the Milwaukee Film Festival next year. So if that's the case, then I probably won't be covering it as press.
No,
Since
but you'll be there. You'll be
Yeah,
there.
exactly. Yeah. But then there's always opportunity to do it in the future too. And
Yeah.
I quite enjoyed, we're all here because we love movies.
Yeah.
And what's more fun than to enjoy a festival for 2 weeks where you're just going to the movie theater constantly and seeing new things?
No, and
So that
that's
part's
the most appealing part about a film festival. Like the first year that Amanda and I went, there was something really exciting about knowing that we're seated for a film that might never be seen again. And it's not even just, I could easily say, oh, because of the current climate of film, but that's just how it's always been. The fact that you look at, say, some of the biggest years of something like Sundance, and years where you had like your Tarantinos, your Richard Linklaters, and things like that, they were runner-up films that were probably never seen ever again. Maybe if they were lucky, they got a small VHS or DVD release, or nowadays it's more likely you might have a cup of coffee on Tubi and then you disappear. So there's something very appealing about that. But then it's also can be disheartening, because there's times where, like, one of the films that really stuck out to me, and this is not for this year, this is from our first year doing them. Man and I saw a movie that we both truly loved called Big Boys. And that movie thankfully did get a DVD release, but it's not a very good DVD. Like, it looks just okay. And the movie kind of disappeared off into Nowheresville, and it's a shame, because it's extremely funny. I still quote it to this day. And it's very sweet, and it's kind of sad to think that people might never discover it, especially if it doesn't get a streaming deal or something like that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. Festivals are a weird thing in that way, because in some respect you're seeing a film before it will reach larger audiences, like a few of the films that we saw at this year's festival. But then there's one or two, I think, that we watched with the idea that this doesn't quite have distribution yet, or It's probably not going to be a big thing. Let's make sure we check it out.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, I don't want to like jump the gun or anything, but
No, jump the gun. Do it.
I think that like film festivals, it's really important that we have them. It's really important that people go and see things there too, because it gives those filmmakers an opportunity to reach out into a greater distribution path. You know, I mean, the local one, and I think we maybe even touched on this before, was like Hundreds of Beavers, where
Mm-hmm.
that had a fantastic fest run. It started at Fantastic Fest, went to a bunch of different festivals, but they were, you know, there were your regional film festivals like Milwaukee Film, and because it generated enough buzz and got the right eyes on it, it was able to then have its own distribution of sorts and live after, you know, onwards. Because I think it made like $1 million
Wow.
box office, which is pretty
That's crazy.
incredible, especially for a film too that like it was self-distributed on
Yeah,
that level.
and it's and I don't mean this as a derogatory term. It's just scrappy film in that
Yeah,
like
exactly.
it's polished, but it's
Mhm.
scrappy in that, you know, I could watch that movie and be like, Kyle is one of these beavers.
Sure.
You were
Yeah.
under the mask for one, like just like it was all hands on deck for so many of the positions on that. And it's a way that films aren't really made anymore.
Yeah.
And so for it to be so successful, and like it's so weird. Like there's a podcast that I love called The Movies That Made Me, and it is hosted by screenwriter Josh Olson, who wrote History of Violence for David Cronenberg. So he's a pretty big deal. I think he won an Oscar for that movie. He does it with Joe Dante, who directed Gremlins. And in one of the episodes from like a year or two ago, there Josh Olson's like, the best movie I saw in theaters this year was Hundreds of Beavers. And I was like, that's so weird to hear a movie that I know people who worked on that was just made in the backwoods of Wisconsin for no money is on people's radar.
Yeah. And the only reason that it's on people's radar is because it had enough buzz through those film festivals.
Yeah.
So you like, but in order for that to happen, like people, especially people who love film, need to go to their regional film festivals and check things out, because that's what's going to create the buzz and allow those films to have a bigger life.
Yeah.
So
One thing I love is, and Amanda, you're great about this, is the fact that you will just go into most things with an open mind. You'll be like, I could just be like, hey, we're gonna watch this movie tonight. Do you want me to tell you what it's about? And you're like, no. And the fact that like we like most of what we have to go off of when we are choosing what we want to see is a screenshot and a little description.
I do wish they would send out trailer reels or like teaser reels,
Yeah,
like for each group, like do a cinema huligante, like just quick like 30-second teasers for each of the things, because so much of the vibe of movies you get from just like seeing even 30 seconds of it. I mean, because that's all we like saw of Obsession when
Yeah.
we saw the trailer before we saw it was at the film festival. So like just a little bit, and it would be nice if they would just like publish that on YouTube. Like here's our teaser reels for our categories.
Yeah, even like because like Criterion Channel does that for every category, like for every collection they have every month. And sometimes I'll just spend time on the Criterion Channel just watching those trailers.
sure.
I can tell the audience how Amanda and I do it, but before I do that, Kyle, how do you decide what you want to see when you're going to a film festival? What is your rationale? Like, how do you figure it out?
That's a really good question. I think that the first thing, well, it depends on the festival, right? So if you're going to like a festival that, you know, like I went to the Midwest Weird Fest or whatever, and that is just going to be weird stuff all the way through and through. When you're at something like Milwaukee Film Festival, that's going to be a festival that has a bunch of categories of different types of films. You know, you'll have your independent cinema, or they call it like independence, which is usually like American independent cinema. think they had like a worldview section, which is films from outside of America. And then sometimes they'll have genres like the Hooligante is the weird, the horror, that kind of stuff. They'll have like an LGBTQ section, all that kind of thing. And I'm almost always gonna be drawn to like the cinema Hooligante
Yeah.
thing. So, you know, if you have weird stuff or you have some horror stuff, like I think that especially independent cinema can work really well when it's working on that side of the genre spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of start there and try to, you know, read some descriptions, or if a still image really gets me, I'll kind of like circle it and be like, yeah, these are ones I'm interested in. As a local filmmaker, and Milwaukee Film has a lot of local films, I try to go out and support those as best as I can.
Yeah.
Just because it's important to be supporting, you know, others when you can. I don't see everything, but I made sure to see a few different things. And then it's
sometimes
you know,
sometimes I actually feel bad telling people no, or not telling people no, but like not being non-committal about it. They're like, "Oh, you're gonna come out and see my film," and I'm like, "We'll see," because like we talked about before, this might be my only chance to see some of this stuff.
Yeah.
And while I love to support my friends and local filmmakers, I'm also like, I probably have a good chance to see yours.
Right. Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, I think then from there, I try to comb through the whole book then and go, is there something from all of these categories? And like this year, I didn't end up seeing as many films as I had wanted to, but yeah, you want to get a well-rounded idea of what the film festival is presenting, and then whatever kind of interests, at least on a documentary sense, if there's a subject that you're interested in, piques your curiosity, kind of go that way. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really have a rhyme or reason or a way of doing things, unfortunately.
So
I should.
What Amanda and I do every year is once they send out the book, and I'd rather do it with the paper booklet, but I feel like it takes so long for those to come out, and they send me the digital one much sooner. We go through, this was the first year we looked at the book separately, but usually we sit next to each other and go on every page and just read the descriptions together. And we'll just be like, anything to jump out at you? I'm like, yeah, or no. And we kind of go through and try even just to glance at everything. And then we just start making these ones I really want to see list. And then we're like, you know, these ones sound interesting if we have time list. And we will then figure, what we did this year is it was actually kind of interesting to do it separately and then look at to see what is on both of our lists and then kind of go from there. And then Amanda had the challenge to then go through the schedule, because like I think we had like 15 like must sees, and then she had to go through and essentially try to create that Jenga, like that, or the Tetris game of where can we fit this in. How much time do we have in between? If we're going to see multiple films, is there enough time for us to get to the other film? And then see if she can sprinkle anything in.
They don't account for that, which always sucks.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
If anyone's out there listening, it would be really helpful if you would take into consideration the amount of time it takes for you to do your intros.
And Q&As.
And the Q&As are a big part. Because Jess and I, my wife, we ran into a problem. We were supposed to see a film with you guys. And it was, we saw the Milwaukee, I don't remember if it was one of the Milwaukee short film sections or music video section, but there was a Q&A after every short or video. And
that takes forever then.
Yeah, and I think that they technically buffer some time in their schedule for it, but not enough. Because it ended up being like, I think it was like a 3-hour affair instead of like a 90-minute thing.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, I feel like they should time it and just try to figure out an average. Like, I expect, obviously, they can't control all of it, but I just don't feel like they're considering it at all. And then the fact that there's the two different cinemas, which are not that far away, but they're also not like next door to each other.
Yeah, about I don't know, 5-10 minute drive, something in
Yeah.
between.
Yeah, it'd probably be closer to 15-minute walk. And if
Yeah.
Probably,
you
Probably
probably
more.
more than 15.
maybe 15 to 20, depending on how much you're hoofing it.
Mhm.
So like all these things kind of take into consideration. And I gotta say, like the days leading up to the film festival are always so exciting. And let me just say out there, for anyone out there who is interested in covering a film festival, let me tell you, I don't know of many film festivals that go for 2 weeks, but it is definitely a marathon, and you have to pace yourself.
Yes.
Me and Amanda have a bad habit of booking too much in usually our first weekend.
Well, we usually do that knowing that like we'll be like, okay, we're okay to miss this one if we have to, or
Mhm.
there's backups of this. But we try to make sure that they're on the calendar so that way if we feel like going out, we know what is like on our list and available. Because I put it all in our Google Calendar.
I think it's pretty common for a festival that runs longer for it to sort of lose its momentum as it goes, just because you have that rush of excitement at the beginning and you want to be seeing films. And I'd be curious to know what the figures are, but like how many people that went to a film festival saw multiple movies, that'd be interesting
Well,
to find out.
we were in one of the movies we were in, they asked people, and most of the people saw several.
Yeah,
Some people saw even in the 40s.
that's amazing. See,
Yeah.
so it's like when you have that, it's besides those people seeing 40 movies, you got
Yeah.
a lot of people who are gonna eventually just have fatigue, or a
Yeah.
2 week long stretch is a long time to
I
basically
do,
fill your evenings.
yeah. I do like though that it takes 2 weeks,
Mhm.
because 2 weeks with only two venues means you have a higher probability of seeing things because there's less overlap, which is really nice. Because I feel like a festival that's only going to last weekend, like if they were trying to show all of these across all the theaters in Milwaukee in 1 week, you would miss so much.
I agree. It's I felt really fortunate about us having a 2 week festival this year, because I ended up getting some like last minute work that I had to be out of the state for a couple days. And I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna miss all these films. Had our film festival just been like a week long, I would have missed like everything, you
Mhm.
Yeah.
know? So having
Yeah.
2 weeks is really nice, like you just said. And then I think that if you have a regional film festival that is that length, like treat that with a lot of care, because it's rare. And as someone who's submitting to film festivals now, I like listed out a bunch of film festivals last year, and then I have to figure out like when I can submit to this year's fest. And I started seeing those like 2 week long festivals shrink to a week, shrink to 3 days. They're becoming rarer. So if you have one, protect it and nurture it, because they're really rare. Yeah, that's all I can say. And they really shouldn't be, because they are what kind of holds independent cinema afloat.
Yeah, and I feel like I don't know what the change is going to be, but it just kind of feels like there's a change in the air. Like the way that the business of film has changed over the years. And I feel like streaming's in this really weird place where I don't think anyone can really predict what its future is. But there's proving to be more and more interest in film, especially from younger generations. Like we are seeing a surplus of people going to the theaters again. Maybe not not as many packed screens as once upon a time. Like a weekend, like almost every movie would be packed. Like we're not quite there, but there are people in droves going to the theaters, and I feel like the simple fact that almost every screening we went to during a 2 week film festival was sold out or nearly sold out is impressive.
Yeah. And that, I was just talking about festivals of that length being rare. It's even more rare for that to be the case.
Yeah.
And even some of the big festivals, they'll have empty screenings. And that's not something that I ever experienced at the Milwaukee Festival ever. Like throughout its existence. So that, and I think I just saw a stat today. I think they just released a stat that is like 15% increase from last year for the amount of people that went and saw films at the festival, or at least the amount of tickets sold, one of the two. So
Honestly, that makes sense because we were never in theater screenings that were like super empty, but there were definitely several last year that were not nearly as packed as this year. Whereas, like I said, every single one we went to was packed, which was cool to see. I think there's only one that wasn't, but I don't remember which one it was.
I feel like She's the He, while had a good size screening, was not packed.
It should have been packed.
It should have
because
been
I loved
packed.
That.
Lucky Lou was a little lighter.
Yeah. That one was kind of late, I think.
Yeah.
So was She's
And
the
then
He on a weekday.
Obsession was a little lighter. I feel like
Was it?
it wasn't as packed as other screenings have been in that main room.
Okay.
Like, it was a good sized crowd, but we didn't have people sitting directly next to us.
I was between you and Jess, so I didn't know.
There wasn't people there wasn't someone sitting next to me.
well, what is like, so, put in a context of like, what does light mean? Because
light compared to a sellout, I guess I should say.
Okay. Like my college feature that went to the Orlando Film Festival premiered in front of 3 people.
So it's okay. It's not that light.
Okay,
light.
I was gonna say, I thought it was a pretty full theater, but
well, it was. But I mean, light compared to the fact that almost every screening was sold out. Light compared to that.
Sure.
Which that one realistically might have been like that because AMC was already showing it.
That is fair.
Yeah.
So people might have been like, well, we can see this one, so let's focus on other things. I mean, I'd rather see it at the Oriental anyway, but I can understand that perspective. So,
is that something that either draws you in or makes you disregard it when you're looking at your schedule? Like if you know that a film is going to come out, or does that make you more likely to want to see it because you can see it before other people can? Because that's something that a lot of film festivals do.
For me, I feel like it's kind of depends on if there's a conflict with something else I want to see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like it's going to go on the list of ones that I want to see, but if it's between that or one that I might never get to see, I'm going to pick the other one. But I like the Oriental, and seeing it before everyone else is a fun experience. And then just the environment of the film festival is different than just an everyday theater. So I would choose to watch it there over any other time, unless it overlaps with something that I would otherwise miss and never see.
Well, and I think you touched on something, Amanda, that I think is one of the things that I enjoy so much about film festivals is the type of audience that you're going to get is very different. Like seeing something, like I think a movie like Hokum, for example. Hokum is going to do well at pretty much any theater, but I think seeing a lot of these movies with people who are just as passionate about film and the film going experience, I think makes it better.
I agree.
Because like even if you're not in like a wild screening, maybe this is me being a little esoteric. I feel like you can feel the energy in the room.
Well, it's the same thing as like going to sports. Like people like going to sports games because you can feel the energy of the place versus sitting at home or sitting with people that don't care about the sport.
That's right. Right. Everyone's like there because they're passionate about this thing. And so your emotions are a little different. We had Jess and I saw Fly Trapper, which is a local film, and it's this like wild sort of midnight movie directed by Drew Britton that is a part mumblecore, part like slasher kind of thing. It's a really wild vibe.
It's kind of all the things that I like mixed together.
There you go. And it was
we
one
missed
of
that one.
Yes, we saw Marama instead, I thought.
Okay. Also a great movie. But the Fly Trapper one is one where like if you went and saw that with regular audiences, you would have crickets because people would be like, I do not quite understand this and I'm not used to it. Our screening was raucous. People were laughing when they're supposed to laugh. They're, having all kinds of emotions and just enjoying themselves because, when you're there with cinema lovers, you're there with people who like understand all the different ways the sort of tapestry that film can be given to you in. And so you have like an appreciation for those kinds of films.
Yeah. Or like I think about a movie that Amanda and I saw. It's called Hen. It's a Greek film about a chicken is your lead character, and you're following around this chicken. But it is also utilizing the fact that you're viewing everything through this perspective of a chicken to comment on Greece's history with refugees and the violence from their government.
And the way we treat people and animals.
Okay.
And from a chicken that doesn't say anything. And I'm like, the crowd we were seeing it with was really into this film. But then I think if I would see this at a Marcus Theaters, one, I don't think anyone would be there. And then two, I just don't think this film would go over very well with a general audience. So
yeah, and like that, going back to like the original point I think you made, which is like sometimes you're only going to see this film at a festival. Like there are films that you feel it and you're like, these are just meant for people who love all kinds of cinema, and that is your film festival audience. So there's a lot of that, and it's kind of special to see those films in that way.
Yeah. So before we start talking about things that we liked or potentially even disliked film-wise, I wanted to... So, Kyle, this is your first year covering the film festival. This is, as I said before, Amanda, my third. What did you... I'm trying to think of the best way to word this, because you didn't see as many films as we did, but walk me through kind of your experience, what you found difficult, what you liked about it. Because I feel like there's more involved with covering a film festival than I think a lot of people realize.
That's a good question.
And if not, I could always kind of give my perspective first while you think about it.
Yeah, why
So
don't you give your...
it's very common for me. Well, I try to... Funny enough, at my day job, I don't usually talk about my obsession with film a whole lot, just because, one, I just don't feel like most people get it. Like I was talking to one of my coworkers, and I think she said she's watched 10 movies all last year. So some people just don't get into it that much. But then I would also talk about, just passively, like how exhausted I am. And they're like, well, why are you exhausted? All you're doing is watching movies. And I was like, there's more to it than just that. Like I'm not switching my brain off. If anything, because I know I need to have something to say about this, I'm thinking more about it and engaging with this many stories and characters and plots and themes back to back so many times. And then also when push comes to shove and I have to sit down and actually write something about it and sit there and be like, I loved this movie. Why can't I think of a fucking word to say about it?
Yeah.
Is exhausting, and it's really tough.
Well, it's also exhausting because we're not like go out every night people.
No.
So it's just a very different experience to be gone all the time from the house when you're kind of more of a homebody, or like at least like if we go out, it's typically going to a friend's house or something. Like it's different to be out like in public that often.
Out in public. Don't look at me.
I mean,
yeah, I mean, I agree with all of that. It's funny too because like when you decide, hey, I'm going to commit to seeing a bunch of films, that generally means that you're seeing movies in the evenings during the week, and then a few on the weekend. Maybe you're seeing a double feature on either the week or the weekend. And this week, which is the week now after the festival, I felt like I had to catch up with a bunch of other things.
Mm-hmm.
You just like, you lose track of because you're laser focused on checking out stuff. And then I enjoy going to the Oriental and genre theaters when I can, but it is like a 20-25 minute drive from me, whereas I have like a Marcus Theater that's like 7 minutes from me. So my gut always has me go to that one because it's easy, right? It's easy to access that. When I want something grand or cool, or if it's an independent film that I can only see somewhere else, then I'll go to the Oriental or the Downer. Or if I want the nostalgia, because both of those theaters are near UWM where we went to school, so there's a lot of nostalgia in going to those places. But yeah, it becomes a little bit tiresome day after day driving that way, trying to find parking in the busy side of town.
I was gonna say,
Going,
yeah, parking is.
Yep.
yeah,
Trying.
going to a film festival, trying to find dinner.
Yep, I was
that
just gonna say, like,
works.
actually making sure you're
Yeah.
taking care of yourself.
Yeah.
Like the amount of times that during this film festival where, because I wasn't always granted the luxury to work from home, so I would have to commute from Franklin, get home if I'm lucky. Like, if we were lucky to eat something beforehand, but sometimes we would just have to rush to a movie, hope you can find parking, hustle to the theater, eat something, popcorn usually, and then you feel really sick later on because not because the popcorn's bad. The popcorn is actually my favorite in the city, but it's just because you have an empty stomach and all you've eaten is popcorn, and then hope that you have time after one of the movies to get something to eat before you have to hustle to another movie. And then, I'd already worked 8 hours that day, and then sometimes we're out even later, sometimes past midnight, have to get home, take care of the dogs, sleep for a little bit, and then go right back to work.
I had this thought midway through the festival this time. It was the first time I was ever thinking about this. I'm like, why don't they need to have healthy snacks, like just like a thing of like baby carrots, like anything.
Well,
Some
we said that to
peanuts.
Susan because the cheese one that Jess went to, they had like a charcuterie board. And we were like, you guys
Fancy.
need to do something like this because that'd be nice. And she said the only thing is then they need to obviously account for handling of perishable foods,
Oh.
which is something she said they've been thinking about, but they need to figure out that because they're not set up for it, which makes sense.
Not gonna lie, the fact
But
that
I agree.
yeah, or the just like the fact that the Downer now has nachos alone is pretty dope.
Oh, I
Like,
didn't
it's
know that.
something different. But even just like if I could get like a package of almonds or some peanuts, just to change things up a little bit, because like our eating habits were out of whack for those 2 weeks, and then by the end of it, I'm like, I just want like a salad.
It's true.
Yeah.
But like, it sounds like I'm complaining, but I'm not, because like I love it. Like, I look forward to this every year, even when I'm exhausted. And I think there was only one. We only took one day off this year.
Well, it breaks up the year for you too,
Yeah.
right? I think that a lot of times, we're all creatures of habit, so there becomes points in the year where you're watching certain things, or you have like these shows or movies that you have on your like board of things that you're going to watch this month, and you just sort of wipe that all away for 2 weeks and do something different. And it's nice to get out of that routine for yourself too.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's something that I think everyone should experience. And let me stress this: if you are local and the Milwaukee Film Festival is in your purview and it's something you can do, see as many films as you can. But you don't have to be insane and you don't have to see 20 films in 13 days.
My good friend and a guy that I've worked with every once in a while, his name is Rob Fisher. He saw 50 screenings over those 2 weeks. I
So that's
toast
like
Rob
not-
Fisher.
So that's like not counting like, shorts have 5 in there. You mean like 50
Correct.
different. Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
impressive.
I couldn't.
Though I do have to say, proudly, that I was emailing with Matt Wild earlier today of Milwaukee Record, and he said he tapped out at 19.
Oh man, okay.
So proudly, I got one more. So I
You're
guess
wilder than wild. There
you
you go.
know, maybe that could be the tagline. So I think we should just talk about some stuff that we saw. Like, how do you guys want to do this? Should we could start with the things that we saw together, or do you want to just like pick out a couple films each that we want to highlight? What do you guys think? We didn't plan this episode. For everyone listening, this was pretty much just an excuse for us to get together and talk, and for Kyle to get some extra film festival coverage in.
It's always good to talk about the fest.
Yeah.
I mean, I think one thing I guess I'll talk about quickly before we talk about their films is I saw the opening night film.
Oh,
the
Uke.
opening night screening was a local documentary called Uke, which is for Bob Uecker, who is a very famous sports announcer for the Milwaukee Brewers, who recently passed away. But he's the sports announcer in the Major League films. And what else?
I can read the description if that helps.
I think it seemed like Mr. Bombardier or something like that.
Yeah. He's from Milwaukee, so he's a local legend. The film was directed by Steve Farr and Michael T. Volman.
Right. And I've worked with Michael on the doc that I'm working on. So it comes from September Club, which is a local documentary kind of institution at this point. They've had a bunch of docs go on to be on Netflix and Hulu and all those. So it's kind of cool to see something new. But also, as someone who has worked with Michael, he's a very, very passionate Brewers fan. So I knew that this film meant a lot to him. To be able to make it and to have the access to Bob Uecker and a bunch of the other people within the Brewers organization was fun. So if you're into baseball history, if you know who Bob Uecker is, I think it's worth checking out. They said at the festival that they're going to have a run in Wisconsin. I think in June or July, the film's going to be in a bunch of theaters. So there'll be other chances for people to see it then. But it was kind of the perfect opening night film because it was about someone who's so important to Milwaukee.
Yeah, I'm not even a baseball person, but I know who Bob Uecker is. I know the tone of his voice.
Yeah,
he is the voice of baseball for me.
He's literally called Mr. Baseball is his nickname. Yeah.
So at some point, it's baseball is not really my sport, but at some point I do plan to check this out. Just though I did rewatch Moneyball the other night, and I still think that movie's incredible. So maybe I like baseball movies.
Yeah, there is, not to go on this tangent now, but you brought it up, and I'm gonna say it there is something about baseball movies that makes me want to love baseball,
Yes.
even though I don't.
I was just saying this to Amanda. I'm gonna go on a tangent real quick about baseball movies and about Moneyball. So when Moneyball came out, that was 2011. My buddy Paul and we went to the Budget Theater to see it. We don't even know why the reason we saw it is because we saw everything at the Budget Theater. Because it was a couple bucks. So it was well, let's just go see whatever's playing. So we went to go see Moneyball, not thinking we were going to like it. We liked Brad Pitt, and at the time, Jonah Hill wasn't canceled yet. So we were like, yeah, let's go see this movie. And we don't like baseball, and we don't like math. And then somehow that was our favorite fucking movie of the year. And we got so into it. They're like, are we baseball people now? And we're like, yeah, fuck yeah, baseball. So me, Paul, and my other friend Jordan went to a baseball game that summer, and we're like, Moneyball was better. But I wanted to like baseball.
Well, there's a great Brad Pitt quote too of how can you not
be romantic about baseball?
There it is. But I think it's how can you not be romantic about baseball movies?
Yes.
It's Field of Dreams is great.
And baseball movies are some of the only sports movies besides Rocky that makes me cry.
Sure. I get it. There is something about the way that it paces out. I think the thing is baseball is very much a sport about individual play, right? You have a pitcher. He's the only person throwing the ball to those hitters. And, it's about each individual hitter coming to the plate, trying to hit the ball. So
it's even though it's a team sport, it's a very individual team sport.
Exactly. And that allows you to build then characters and that kind of thing. So that might be what it is.
Or like one of my favorite movies of last year is a movie called Ephus, which was about the last night of a Sandlot baseball diamond before it gets demolished, and these players play one more game. It's like a hangout baseball movie, and it's beautiful. But
That
yet,
sounds fun.
if I were to sit there and watch that game and be like, can we go home? I'm bored.
As someone who has sat through many Little League games for my younger brother, yes, I share that sentiment. There's nothing worse than sitting there for 3 or 4 hours watching a bunch of people who can't play baseball.
But yet, if they were to make a movie about it, like the Bad News Bears, I'd be all over it.
Bad News Bears is great.
It is.
Sandlot, yeah.
Yeah. Amanda, thoughts on baseball movies before we move on to the Milwaukee Film Festival?
It's like I haven't seen any of them.
I mean, they're fun. I definitely prefer them over baseball itself. I really don't like baseball.
Yeah.
Although I used to play softball, so I don't know. Maybe I'm not the best.
And baseball video games are fun.
That's true too. Yeah.
So there's something there.
I disagree, but
they're probably not fun to watch people play. But...
No, but they're fun to play. So yeah, we did not go to the opening night, mostly just because we thought we know we're going to be surrounded by people for this entire film festival, and the opening night is guaranteed to be a sellout. Plus, they're doing their party, and it's like, let's just stay home for the first night, save our energy, and then start out strong. Because that first weekend, let me count real quick. That first weekend, we saw 1, 2, 7 films. Well, Amanda, you saw 6. I saw 7 because I went to Bay of Blood by myself. That's a lot.
That's impressive.
I should say that was a 3 days. Yeah, we were in the screening. We were seated for public access when the warnings were going off.
Realistically, there's no windows in a theater, so next to being in the basement, it's kind of one of the
safest place on earth.
Okay. The safest place on earth. I love it.
Basements would still be better.
So what was your favorite out of those first 7 that you saw?
All right, so I just want to run through what we did see that weekend, just so that for reminder's sake. We saw Public Access. I then went and saw A Bay of Blood. Severin Presents A Bay of Blood. And let's give a shout out to Severin Films. My buddy Matt Harding was there. He's the regional warrior for Severin Films. He was there slinging DVDs, no DVDs probably, Blu-rays and 4K discs. We saw Your Attention Please, My Brother's Killer, and Fuck Toys. So it was a documentary-heavy weekend.
Yeah,
and The Last Critic and Useful Ghost.
Was that all on that same weekend?
Public Access,
oh, you're
Friday,
right.
Saturday,
I got
Sunday.
the days.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, sorry. You're right. We saw The Last Critic and Useful Ghost. I counted wrong.
I really want to know how Your Attention Please is, because I think that's going to get a wider release. And I wanted to see it, but didn't get a chance to.
I really liked it. It is a hard movie to watch, but I think it's an important movie to watch. It follows primarily follows some parents who have lost kids due to suicide because of cyberbullying.
Oh.
And their desire to change laws, because as it stands, there was a law passed by Bill Clinton that basically says that tech companies aren't responsible for what happens on their platforms. So because of that, any attempts to sue tech companies for any of the stuff that happens has been unsuccessful. So they're trying to change some of that stuff so that they can be held accountable. Partially because I don't know if you heard about the Facebook files that were released.
Maybe.
This was the last couple of years, I think. This person who used to work for Facebook left the company and blew the whistle on it. They Facebook has internal documents stating that they have done studies and concluded that Facebook is detrimental to children's health, and that it's probably not a good thing that, like, girls specifically feel worse on Facebook and Instagram than they do if they're not. So they have internal studies for this, and yet every time they've been questioned, they say that it's perfectly safe. Um, so it follows a bunch of movements around this, including those parents, a no, like an offline movement in another country, as well as this woman who is currently going to school. I think she was a software engineer, but she's going to school to be a lawyer so that she can fight this
Okay.
fight. And it kind of touches on how AI is going the same direction as social media. So
One of the things that I think this movie also did really well is it could, and I even mentioned this in my review, is it could have very easily become a torch and pitchfork type movie, calling for the end of social media and cell phone usage and things like that. And it wasn't. It definitely had, there was those aspects of it. But what I appreciated so much about it was many of the floating heads throughout this film were people who are involved in technology and who want to see a more ethical side to technology. And it's nice to see because, like, I'm a person who I'm pretty open about the fact that I am dealing with my own screen addiction. And part of that is also comes from the fact that I have got a very public persona because of the podcast and things so like I can't get rid of it completely. But I also don't know if I'd want to get rid of it completely because there's a lot of things that it does help with. But I left feeling like there's more I want to do to be more present in the world around me. And I think that there's a message about that throughout this film of, they're not saying everyone should be throwing out their cell phones, but what they're saying is we could go longer without them.
yeah, and a lot of like the work they're trying to do with the new bill passing new bills is not censoring content, because I guess people who have spoken out against this have been concerned that, like, for children, especially queer children, this is sometimes their only access to, people in those communities.
Yeah.
So the goal is to not, they just don't want to push this stuff. It's the algorithms that push data onto people and monetize your attention. Whereas, like, it should be there. It should be there for the people who want to find it. But, like, we shouldn't be forcing things on people, especially on children who don't necessarily know where to draw the line.
Sounds
It's
like
really good. It's, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, highly recommend it if you get a chance to check it out. So, once again, for those of you listening at home, it's called Your Attention Please, directed by Sarah Robin. Did you see anything that first weekend, Kyle, besides Uke?
Yeah, my first weekend was very slow. I actually ended up seeing a lot my second weekend. But I did two things. So I saw I Swear. And the other thing that film festivals sometimes do, which is really nice, is they'll have like panels and things that you can go to. It's especially great if you're like a film student and you want to like learn about film. So they had a documentary summit.
I heard it was packed.
It was pretty packed, and the crowd was exceptionally engaged with the three filmmaker panel, talking about kind of the fact that like documentary is in a really weird spot right now. You go back like 8 years and there were films that were being bought for like $1 million at Sundance, and now no one will touch them when it comes to like distribution. And it was a lot of talk was about like what control do we have? What can we try to do to give ourselves some control in finding our audience? And those kinds of conversations are important and insightful, and that's another cool reason why I think people should check out film festivals, especially if you're involved in filmmaking. They usually have what you'd call almost like a filmmaker services type of aspect to it, where you can hear people, and not just people, but actual like professionals talk about different aspects of film. So that was really special to go to that, and I was really thankful that they had that. And then, like I mentioned earlier, I saw I Swear,
Mm-hmm.
which that was one that I pegged like right away, kind of going back to this idea of, you know, what movies do you choose to see? One of the things that's kind of fun about some of these regional film festivals is they'll either have like films that were at Sundance or some other big festival that you can see for the first time or maybe only time. And then a film like I Swear had gotten a lot of buzz at last year's like British Film Awards. Uh, and
Yeah.
so that was brought in here. Yeah, it got a lot of buzz for both good and bad
Yeah, it
reasons.
did.
Was that this? Was that last year? I thought that was this year.
I guess that would have been this year.
Okay.
Yeah, this like winter,
Yeah.
right?
We,
Yeah,
we
okay.
won't go
Yeah.
into it, but
Right.
you,
Yeah,
you
it
can
had
find
some-
I'm
it.
sure everyone's aware of it.
Yeah.
The award ceremony itself had some controversy, but the buzz that the film had before that was just because it had garnered a lot of awards for its acting,
Yeah.
for its story.
And I've
all
heard
that
it's
kind of
great.
stuff.
So
Yeah, and it was great. So it's a film about a person suffering from Tourette's syndrome back in, I want to say like the person would have been like a child of like the 70s or 80s.
mhm.
And we didn't have a lot of information about what Tourette's was, so you kind of get an understanding of how people live with that syndrome. It's a drama. The actor who plays Elrond in Rings of Power is the lead character of the film, and it treats Tourette's with a lot of respect, but in a way that's like you see the harsh reality of it. You see the humor that goes with a syndrome in which people are, swearing uncontrollably. It just balanced those two things really well, and I think it went deeper into that syndrome than people understand too, because at the end of the day, it's not really just a syndrome about swearing. Like, it causes you to have a lot of involuntary movement and
Mhm.
things too. Like, there's a lot of layers of depth to it, and the film treats those layers with a lot of respect to its subjects without ever being like overly like melodramatic. So it's in some theaters now, and I definitely would say people should check that out if they can.
Nice.
Yeah, that's been it was on my radar before the obviously the controversy that came up with it. And I wanted to see it, and I'm hoping, well, actually it sounds like it is getting a release, so I'm hoping I can check that out in the near future.
You mentioned a film that you saw the first weekend of the film fest, which I saw the second week or weekend, which was Fuck Toys.
Yeah.
That is a wild, fun trip of a film too.
It is,
Yes.
and we had a really cool audience. Also got to give a shout out to the film's director Annapurna Sriam. I'm sure I'm mispronouncing the last name, but what I find really interesting about her is I have some friends on Discord who were talking about how they had seen Fuck Toys that same weekend that we saw it. And she did a Q&A after our screening, and she was also at their screening in Pittsburgh in that
Oh my God.
same weekend. And I think she hit 3 different screenings in different states, all in the same weekend,
That's
just for like
some-
15-minute Q&A and to sell her stuff. Because
That's
they
awesome.
That's crazy.
they're selling posters and T-shirts and stuff. So big shout out to Annapurna. She is hustling.
I'm so sad that I missed it that opening weekend. Then that she was there.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's special. That's really cool.
Yeah, so big shout out to her, and shout out to Liam from Cinepunks, who's the one who told me about that story. So, but no, this was such a funny movie. Like I think I said to Amanda after we'd finished the film that it kind of lives in this weird intersection between Trauma and John Waters.
Sure, yeah.
But it has a more contemporary style of humor, which I loved, and it also was just kind of dreamy. It kind of reminded me of Italian comedies. Like it had this European vibe to it. I couldn't even like classify what this movie is.
Yeah. Yeah, it's because it's an amalgamation of a few, it's like kind of absurdist. Well, it's very absurdist. But people are playing their parts straight, even though they're in an absurd circumstance. And the cinematography is kind of wild and weird. So it gives this sort of, you'd call it like an off-kilter, I guess, feel to it. That's not in a bad way. It's in a very good way, I would say. Yeah, it's a kind of uncategorizable film, which is what makes it great.
Yeah, and it also, like you said, like it, whatever it's doing, if it's trying to be funny, it's taking that seriously. If it's trying to be serious, it's taking that seriously. Like there's a really nice like heart-to-heart scene in the middle of the movie between the two leads, but then the end of the film is just pure dread-inducing, and it doesn't feel out of pocket.
No. Yeah. It balances tone extremely well. And the other thing that I think is really cool about it is, so the film is about this woman who, it starts, she's in the middle of a plot of grass that's in the middle of a swamp.
Yeah.
We don't know how she got there, but she's there with a psychic medium who tells her that she's cursed, and basically tells her she's got to get like $1,000 and a goat for a sacrifice to get rid of the curse. And then she's like, well, I guess I gotta go get this money. I'm cursed.
Yeah.
It's that kind of movie.
Yeah.
But her line of work is sex work. And we're following her, and we're following other people that are also sex workers in a very like bizarro sex worker kind of world. But what's interesting about it is the film itself at certain points kind of like lets you in on the realities of that work, in the sense of like the emotions that people have, the moral gray areas of it, and you can see how it like in a real world setting would affect someone. Like it affects people that way, the characters that way in the movie too, even though it's this absurd movie. So it has like these layers of meaning that I think show that it's not just trying to be some funny, weird, wild film. It's also trying to say some things.
No, exactly. And then it's just like no one is really, there's not a black or white depiction of any one character. No one's really fully good. No one's like really fully bad. Like even, I don't want to spoil where the film goes in the end, but even that character is incredibly nuanced in ways. But then the scene that like stuck, I should say series of scenes that really stuck with me is when the lead character was with her John. His name is Robert. And that very interesting character of who honestly, even if sex wasn't involved, it feels like he would pay her just to hang out with him.
Yeah.
I think he's just looking for a certain level of companionship and friendship outside of he's paying her to have sex with him.
Yeah. And then at the same time, like as that progression of that sequence happens, like you start with, you kind of get him and you feel for him, and then it does remind you though of the ramifications of what he has chosen to do, and that's kind of interesting too. Yeah, it's a very, very good sequence, and I'm trying to remember the name of that actor who plays
his name is Damian Young.
Yeah, and he's one of those like, oh, I know that guy.
He's got a that guy face.
Yeah, but he he's probably the most well-known actor in that film.
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Yeah.
That might have been true up until recently, but Francois Arnaud, who played the character known as the mechanic in the end, he's on Heated Rivalry, so he's probably the most popular person in this fucking movie because of that.
That's a good point, I guess. But I think that he has a lot to work with in this film, and he goes for it.
Yeah. All right. So
that's another cool thing. And this is more even about independent cinema than film festivals, but independent cinema is really great for allowing these people that have bit parts or small roles in other films or TV shows to have a chance at biting off a little bit more of that apple because they'll be in bigger roles.
Yeah.
And that's a kind of a treat to see too.
Yeah, someone who can just be like a popular that guy could have a really meaty role in something a little bit smaller.
Yeah.
So we won't have time to go through everything, so I'm just going to start picking and choosing. I know this is a movie that Amanda and I saw. I don't think you saw this one, Kyle, but one of my favorite movies of the festival was Carolina Caroline.
I didn't see that one.
I describe it in my review that it's like a warm blanket. It's something comforting, a little familiar, and exceptionally well done. It's a crime film. It is to quote my own review once again, I described it as a bona fide beer-soaked crime caper, a lovers on the run picture, and a shit-kicking bank robbery movie, all in one. It's about these two very attractive grifters who just get off on grifting, essentially. Like, it starts off small, like the excitement of just ripping people off for a little bit of money. You know, there's this really fantastic con at the beginning of the money where you shortchange people that I still can't 100% figure out how you do, so I know I would easily get ripped off doing it. And the amounts of money that they're getting is just enough to probably feed themselves, get a little bit of gas, get down the road. But then as it goes on, they start robbing banks, and the intoxicatingness of winding up with all this money. It stars Samara Weaving, who a lot of people will know from films like Ready or Not. She was also in 3 billboards outside of Ebbing, Missouri, the Babysitter films. She's kind of a big name right now, and Kyle Gallner. It's directed by Adam Reimer, who did Dinner in America, and it's a film that we all know. It is, it's got that Bonnie and Clyde style, lovers on the run, as I mentioned before. It's just exceptionally well done, and you're just watching attractive people do shitty things. But where I think it works, because not all films like this can make this work. They're doing bad things, but there's a small part of you that wants to see them get away with it.
I appreciate that it doesn't go for the low-hanging fruit of him manipulating her into doing it. It's an accusation that gets thrown at one point, but watching them, you can tell it's like she was kind of the one encouraging them to take it further. And it was just a nice change in that way.
Yeah, it's he clearly has ideas on how to accomplish these things, and his past is shady, and we don't really know what he's done in the past, but she's really the one who starts upping the ante, and he's kind of got these moments of, are you sure about this? And yeah, it's a really thrilling movie, and it's one of the films I've been thinking about the most since it came out. And I know it's going to get a big release. Maybe not a big release, but it's going to get a release based on the cast alone, and then the director's previous film was very popular. It's just it feels small though, because it doesn't even have a fucking poster yet. Like, I was talking to Kara at the film festival, Kara Ogburn, and she was like, "Yeah, we didn't even get a trailer up until like maybe right before the film festival started."
Wow.
So this is very early on in its run.
I'll say this. I've submitted my film to a few festivals yet that I have to hear back from. And if any of them are listening, I don't have a trailer made yet either. But it's coming soon.
Do you have a poster?
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
we're gonna have 2 posters. The other one's in the works too.
Okay.
You'll have to send us a picture of the poster because I want to see it.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna put you on the spot, Amanda, because I know this is a movie that we were both really hot on, but I know you were pushing really hard for Jess to go see it. But one of the films that we saw in that first week too was Black Zombie.
Yes. That one was it was a lot of fun. It was fun to learn everything about like where zombies come from. Some of it was new things, but we did learn a lot when we were in New Orleans already. So it was for us kind of expanding on that, what we already learned about where what voodoo actually is and where it comes from and what zombies really are.
It's a documentary, by the way, in case we didn't specify.
Yeah, sorry. So it's a documentary about the origins of zombies and how they have kind of changed into what they are today. It is also, as most movies that deal with things like this, also sobering in a lot of ways to see like the effect that colonialism has had. But it's really good. It's really well done. I'm really curious. One of the voodoo practitioners mentions that the filmmaker asks him how he feels about her making this movie, and he says that a lot of people have said that they were going to, and they always end up basically, not his words, but basically doing them dirty. I would love to know how he feels about this one because it felt, from the little bit I knew going into it, accurate, but it would be nice to hear that. It was We were laughing a little bit because it did bring up the Serpent and the Rainbow, which we saw with you guys last year.
What a wild ride that movie was.
Yeah, the author of that book seemed did not seem to understand what was going on.
No.
So it was really funny that they put that in there because he's like,
Doesn't
yeah,
paint,
I don't think they did a good job, but with the movie, but I got a house out of it, so
yeah, it doesn't paint him in the best light.
But yeah, so it's definitely really good. I know Jess said that it was getting a distribution, so
Yeah,
Okay, cool.
I saw in the credits
Yeah.
it was co-produced by the documentary channel.
Oh, cool.
yeah, that's
Okay.
what it was. So, but I definitely recommend that one.
In the back half of the film festival, anything that stuck out that you guys really loved?
Let's see. So
I loved She's the He
She's the He. Yeah, that was
and Marama.
Yeah, that movie is, I think, my favorite of the fest.
all right. So I would say, so that way we don't go too long. Let's say we talk about She's the He, and then we can have a discussion about Marama because it's one we've all seen together. So She's the He, directed by Siobhan McCarthy, is a high school teen comedy where these two trying to think of how to do this. When the movie begins, they are both two boys in the context of the movie who get this weird plan that I still can't quite figure out, where if they pretend to be trans, they can get more women.
Well, one of them gets that idea and drags the other one with.
Yes, there's an important distinction.
Yes.
So, but when they start doing this, the character who was dragged into it realizes that they are actually a trans person, and that this is how they feel most comfortable. The reason I was struggling with pronouns at the beginning is because the characters have their pronouns, but both characters are actually played by trans actors as well.
Okay.
So
Yes,
even
one of them is trans female, and the one who decided to pretend to be trans is a trans man.
Yeah, so you have a trans man playing a straight white male.
Cis male.
Yeah, sorry, a cis white male. So it's a whole like there's a whole
Yeah.
lot going on with it, but it was legitimately funny. It was very heartfelt and it made me cry, which is also not that hard to do because I'm a big crier when it comes to films. But going back to something we were talking about early on in this discussion, is it scrappy? You watch the credits and there's the same couple names popping up over and over again, Kyle. We know what that's like being in film school where you'd have 5 names popping up in different roles. And that's how this was. It feels like every dollar was put on screen. And sometimes you can kind of notice that there's a smaller budget, like the fact that you only see like 6 people in this entire high school.
Whoa, okay.
Like they didn't really have much money for a large sets of extras, but so much of the movie takes place after school that you can kind of get away with it. But I don't mean that in a negative way. It is phenomenal to see something that came out that this polished, this funny, that looks like it was just a passion project. And it was definitely it's a screening that should have had way more people in because it was also one of the most fun screenings we were at.
Yeah, definitely. And the director and writer, it's the only film I think that they've directed and written.
At least that's showing up on Letterboxd.
Yeah. I didn't look beyond Letterboxd, but
I could check the IMDb
thought
real
that was
quick,
cute.
but the writer director, like, they obviously wrote and directed, they produced it, they did there's a lot of animation throughout the film. They did the animation, they did the music,
Okay.
a little bit of everything.
I'm like, even the plot alone makes me interested in seeing this. But then when you're talking about the scrappiness, I think as an independent filmmaker, I want to see it even more.
Yeah.
Not to go off on a little tangent, I'll make it quick, but I went to Midwest Weird Fest a few weeks ago. Well, it was probably a month or so ago at this point, and I saw this film called I've Seen All I Need to See by Zashan Yunus. And that film looks, it kind of looks like $1,000,000, but you at the same time you can tell that it's extremely low budget because they pick their framing. There's not a lot of coverage. It's a very tightly crafted film in terms of locations and characters and all this stuff.
Yeah, it looks really
And it's
good.
yeah, and it's cool to those kinds of movies inspire me as someone who wants to go and make movies, but always feels like do I have the time? Can I pull off something ambitious? And it's like, well, you can pull off you could pull off things at very low price points that look great. You just have to be really intentional about it. And I think that both of these films are maybe fitting that vibe.
Yeah. No, and just like you, Kyle, like this is the type of stuff that inspires me as well as someone who still has that dream of wanting to make a feature film, and it gives you hope that it can be done.
Yeah, they're the kinds of films that I think all low budget filmmakers should be studying.
Like that's how I felt when I saw Sean Baker's Tangerine.
Yeah,
like,
sure.
He just shot that, and he shot that on an iPhone. Like he just made it work. Granted, he had like a pretty expensive rig for the iPhone, but still, he made that movie for peanuts. So yeah, She's the He is one of the films that I have been recommending the most coming out of this film festival, and I do hope it gets some distribution. It did have a good screening at South by Southwest, so I'm also hoping that helps it along.
Awesome.
All right, and then a film that we all saw, we didn't see it together, but we did all see it, was Teratoa Stoppard's Marama. Description for the movie on here says, when a young Maori woman is summoned from New Zealand to North Yorkshire, she uncovers her horrific colonial heritage and is compelled to confront and destroy the titled Englishman who devastated her family. I was sold when I saw the trailer. I saw it before. I think the trailer played before A Bay of Blood, and I was like, "Oh shit, it's a gothic horror film," and that's one of my favorite subgenres. And I was just sold from that alone. I was like, oh, it's a gothic horror film about the history of New Zealand. Fucking sign me up.
And I see, I'm kind of the opposite, where I'm not a huge gothic horror person. I
Mhm.
find them to sometimes be a little too slow or tedious for my taste for some reason. Even though I can deal with a lot of slow cinema, gothic horror is very hit or miss for me.
I love
But
it.
this one I loved, and I didn't think it moved slow at all. Like, it
No.
has this creeping pace to a finale, but at the same time, everything about it is fascinating to watch play out. And I think it's got a very limited release that's either happening now or soon in select cities.
Yeah, I saw Dark Sky Films name on one of the posters. So I'm hoping that bodes well for them. That means it might get a real, like, even just put it on physical media or something.
Good. I hope it does well. I mean, it shocked me in the best of ways.
Yeah, it was fantastic. I can definitely see. Uh, so Jess recommended the book Mexican Gothic last year that I read, and I know when you guys were recommending it, she said it reminded her of that, and I can totally see that. It just has that very, I don't know, like nefarious past, uncovering the mystery of it, and then just the setting. And I liked that for a horror movie, the kills were very intentional. I mean, I love slashers, so that's not necessarily like a bad thing, but I liked in this film with this plot, like the kills were very intentional. There was one that was very, um, it was a character that wasn't even the main bad guy, so the kill was very like, it didn't even matter the
Hmm.
way that she did it, and I really
It's like
appreciated that. But then like when it,
non-consequential.
yeah,
Yeah.
but then when it came to the big one, it was big. I don't know, I love this movie.
Yeah. And one the thing that's kind of interesting about it is, like, for as much of a mystery as it is, basically from the word go, you know who the good guys and the bad
Mhm.
guys are.
Yeah.
Like, it's
Yeah,
very obvious, and it's
yeah,
just like unraveling the layers of their good or
right.
bad
Because
intentions
there
that
was
is
like
interesting.
there was some stuff that I was like, okay, I know where this is going. But then there were things that it's like, okay, that I did not see coming. So like there was a lot going on and a lot to uncover where like it wasn't a thing where it's a simple thing and I guessed it from the beginning.
Yeah.
And even if you had an idea, just the way it plays out was still, I think, different.
No, and I appreciate that too. Like, I appreciate that the filmmaker, pretty much from like you said, Kyle, from the beginning, just wants you to know, like, we're not supposed. Don't trust this person. Don't
Yeah.
trust these people, because it puts you on edge. Then, so that way we are feeling the way that this character, our lead character, is also feeling.
Yeah.
Because no matter, like, they could have been the nicest people on the planet, and this character probably would have still been feeling on edge with them because of the weirdness of the situation. So I appreciate that the filmmaker put us in her mindset for it.
I wrote this in my review. Uh, the one thing that I really liked about this film, and I think that this is a thing that we're seeing more presently in cinema nowadays, especially independent cinema, is this film dives into Maori culture, which is an indigenous culture of New Zealand. And nowadays, I feel like we're having these opportunities to see more of these other cultures
Yes.
that have these long histories or long maybe storytelling traditions that date back for a very long time that we've never had access to, and to be able to like wind them up and put them into genres that we're all familiar with. It gives those genres new things to like soak in and
Hmm.
become inspiration, and that is really like a treat.
Yeah, definitely.
No, absolutely. And one of the reasons that I love the horror genre is I just feel like it frees you up quite a bit in your storytelling, because a good horror film should have a good story? If you remove all the horror elements, is there still something here to grasp onto? And then I feel like because of the nature of horror, you can be a little bit more creative with your symbolism and your themes. And so, to have something, that's commenting on colonialism be wrapped in the package of like a gothic horror film, I just think is incredibly smart, incredibly interesting, and something that I've never seen done before. So, because like this might be me going on a tangent. One I think is one of the most reductive things that someone can do. It's not. I don't think it's inherently bad to compare a movie to something else. But when someone compares a movie to another piece of media, but does so as a way to degrade the film, I think is very short sighted. Because I can see already people online probably being like, "Oh, this is just this movie and this movie," but like that. Those changes, those different perspective, those different purviews are what transforms it and makes it into something different. So even if it is something similar to something else, a different perspective makes it fresh.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's what I think Marama does incredibly well. And I will have to say, like, we didn't talk about it nearly as many as I would have liked to, just because of timing. But this was a very strong film festival when it came to horror as well.
Mm-hmm.
And because I think every other than one, which I really didn't like, every horror film I thought was very strong.
Yeah, it's cool to see them dive back into horror films, because they had back when we were in college, there was a lot of horror representation in the film festival, and then it kind of dissipated for a while, and now it's returned. And I don't know, I'm excited about it, because I think especially you see a lot of these movies late at night. Sometimes it's your second or third screening, and those are the crowds. They're so much fun. I mean, I don't know how much time we really have, but like the film that we saw together was Hokum.
Yeah, let's talk about Hokum a little bit.
I mean, that one was late at night, and that was so cool to see that with other people, because it's a very jump scare heavy film. And those, I think, in order to really feel the impact of those films, you want to see them with a crowd.
Definitely, yeah.
And we had a crowd for our film, and it was a blast to see that film in the theater.
Yeah, like I know we only got about 9 minutes before you probably got to head out, Kyle. But no, you're absolutely correct. Like, this film it's a joy to watch, because it's scary, but it's also fun.
Mm-hmm. Adam Scott's really good in it.
He's playing
lead.
such an asshole, but he's so watchable.
Yeah.
And like, he goes through so much bullshit in this film that, like, normally when a character is an asshole, you're like, fuck this guy, I hope he dies. But like, he goes through such a ringer that even by the end you're like, I guess I kind of want him to survive. But I want him to have his Scrooge moment and learn from it.
And the opening scene is one of the coolest takes on the tradition of a writer that's writing that I've ever seen in a film.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, absolutely. The way that kind of bookends the story, I think, is really nice. So, Hokum was the film that my podcast was the community partner for. So it was also just nice to see a very crowded film, a very crowded screening, and to have my podcast get a shout out, because I'm vain and I want people to hopefully come listen to it. But we should probably wrap up so we have time to get the audio sorted out before we have to go. So that's our short and sweet coverage. Not short and sweet. It was like an hour and a half coverage of it. But that was our short and sweet coverage of the Milwaukee Film Festival. You can find Kyle's reviews for what he saw on Geek Vibes Nation. Amanda and I have been posting all of our reviews on Letterboxd. So if you see something and you'd like for us to expand upon it, just reach out. I'm more than happy to talk to you guys about movies. Kyle, where can everyone find you and the information about what you're up to, the birds that you're seeing, all that good stuff?
I think the best way to reach me is probably at the Carp with a K 14 on Instagram. That's or you just look up Kyle Arpke on Instagram and you'll find me.
The Carp 14. Like I said, he takes some truly phenomenal photos. We have some of them hung up around the house.
I'm
Amanda,
looking at the Jaguar right now.
yeah,
Oh,
it's
the
like
leopard.
right over her desk. Amanda, where can people find you or your art page if you want people to follow that?
I guess the art page is Art by Eags, EAGS.
Some really great art on there. I'm a big fan, and not even just because me and Amanda are married. I just really like her art style. At this point, everyone should know where to find me. You can find me at either Michael_Viers or Shameless Picture Show on every forms of social media. You can find me doing frequent reviews of new physical media. I talk about aspect ratios probably more than anyone else. So we appreciate everyone listening, and make sure you come back next time. Shame place. Shameless Picture Show.
The Shameless Picture Show is a proud member of Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network. The show is recorded in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and is hosted and produced by Michael Viers. The show was created by Nicholas Richards and Michael Viers, and the show is edited by Ausin Proctor of the Frightmares podcast. Amanda Viers is the show's graphic designer and a big help behind the scenes. Our theme music was written specifically for us by Ausin Proctor, with narration by yours truly, Nick Richards. The end credit music you're currently enjoying was generously provided to us by the band 10 Speed. An extra special thank you to all of our Patreon supporters and our generous sponsors. We are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Audible, and iHeartRadio. For more information, be sure to check out someone'sfavoriteproductions.com.
Thank you for listening. To hear more shows from the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network, please select the link in the description